get your mind together, then come on across to me.
Thank you for joining us this evening on the Hank Stolz Experience. Boy, we've been talking, we've done a few shows over the last couple of years about CitySquare and what's going to be coming from CitySquare, but we're very pleased that it was just a week or 2 weeks ago in which we started to see some of the demolition of the old mall, and people were very excited. Hundreds of people actually coming to watch that. Fred Eppinger from the Hanover Insurance Group, thank you so much for being here. City Manager Mike O'Brien. And Mr. Manager, why don't I start with you? Maybe you can bring it up to sort of where Hanover came in and really has now propelled this project forward. CitySquare, we're going back about 6 years ago when Young Park began talking about this project.
No question, Hank, and the realities of the principles of the project at that time remain true to today. As a community, as a city, from a leadership right through to our citizenry, everybody recognizes it's not going to be one silver bullet that's going to allow us to continue to shape our city for the 21st century, but a series of projects that interlink, create jobs, and vitality, whether it's the work in the Canal District, Shrewsbury Street, the core downtown, North Main Street, and the list goes on. And so during that time, CitySquare, some 6 years ago, we looked at this 20.2 acres in the core downtown and saw monolithic use, right, a mall, and then monolithic construction, right, 10 acres of it taken up so that we don't have an intimate street and block pattern. You don't have the layered uses in there of commercial and residential and entertainment and the like. And so with CitySquare, we look to advance those causes, reconnect our city, bring in these layered uses, and start to complement and interplay with all the other progress happening in our city. We know that the economy dropped out. We know we had problems with a recession, capital markets constricted, banking and lending had pulled back, and that presented some real challenges with the previous developer. In looking at this project and knowing its benefits and having a real belief in our community, we were lucky enough for the investment arm of Hanover Insurance to take a close look at this. And could this project for its stockholders and investors have a return? And could broader community benefits come from it if it were to be undertaken? And the good news is, after all that analysis and due diligence, Hanover came in, looked at the books and said, yes, we can be part of this.
Without Hanover, I mean, where would we be today? Would we be talking about this, or had the project stagnated at that point?
Well, for all those forces I talked to you about, the economy, the capital markets, lending institutions pulling back, everybody skittish because of what the future might hold, I believe that we would have probably been awaiting someone else to look at this project as being viable to be part of the development and development opportunities. We had somebody close to home, someone that followed the project for a long period of time, knows its inherent benefits, and so there wasn't a lot of time that needed to be taken to dive into those details. But it really came down to the financial aspects of it and the reasons why that they got involved. I think Fred can describe in some detail.
And so it made sense from a financial standpoint, but I don't think that we can downplay the fact that you are a hometown player.
It's true.
That Hanover Insurance has this vision for what Worcester can be and being a good corporate citizen.
Yeah, there's no question. It clearly had to be a good investment. You know, when you make a $75 million investment in something, and that's really what phase one is for us, it's $75 million. You have to believe in the ability to get that back. But we also have a unique position. We understand the city as well as anybody, and we don't have a short-term view. And as the crisis unfolded and people had trouble getting access to capital, a lot of those other investors don't really understand where the city could go and what this really meant to the city. And so I think we're fortunate. We understand the long-term nature of this and what could happen and what the benefits were of it. And so, you know, it was hard to get your head around it. This is something that had been going on for a long time. Right. It was very complex. There was a lot of pieces to it. But we felt it was absolutely worth doing. And, you know, for us, getting Unum to partner with us and getting them to commit to the city essentially for 20 years to do the lease with us allowed us to raise the money and put the capital in and get it going. And I feel very, very good about it.
It is amazing that in this economy, we have not only CitySquare in the city of Worcester, right, but the CSX project, what's happening at the airport. I mean, Mr. Manager, you said a moment ago, no silver bullet, but these are some home run type projects. I mean, perhaps, that the millions of dollars in investment in having, the beautiful Worcester Common, and it does look beautiful. That's a great project. But these projects, CitySquare, the building of Unum, with their new building, what's happening at the airport, I mean, these really are going to transform the city.
To Fred's credit, as a CEO and a citizen of Worcester and Central Massachusetts, and a lot of other people that know and understand our base of assets and what we need to do to connect these dots, right? You can't do anything in a vacuum and just stand alone. CitySquare's future is bright because we're going to look to long-term create that additional 20 trips per day to and from Boston with express trains. That meant we had to get CSX to a point where we could agree to expand the yard here, which would then allow those tracks, which are right now geared primarily to freight, to be freed up for dedication to commuter rail, which means you're connecting centers of excellence, right? Boston and Worcester, and the reality of both the commute out and the reverse commute for employees, for corporations to see the livability and the affordability of Worcester as an opportunity for there to make a commitment, whether it's employers with investing in new companies and expansion of existing companies, or people that see Worcester as a value to live and then commute elsewhere. But both of those as a standalone really aren't going to be successful. So any of the projects you mentioned, including the work that we're doing in North Main Street now with market rate housing, the work in the Canal District, private investment taking place, CitySquare, how that interplays between the work that's happening right now near the library with the Mayo Group making significant investments for market rate housing. All these pieces have to come together, and you've got to kind of keep an eye on the chess game to make sure each one's happening in a sequence that makes sense, so that each one builds on itself and allows for additional investment to succeed as well.
So how does it impact Hanover? Do you then see Hanover employees living downtown?
Oh, no, absolutely. To me, one of the things we believe very strongly in is that if you're going to build a great company, you have to have a great city. We grew about 550 people this year. And for us to attract great talent into the city, you have to have a vibrancy, what I like to call an 18-hour city. Because, particularly for young professionals, you really can't replicate that great urban feeling. And we believe all the things you talked about are really coming together for Worcester. And one of the great things about Worcester is that Boston's on the ocean. You can't go east out of Boston, right? Things are coming west. And so what has happened is that growth has allowed us to kind of really take advantage of the demographic shift to the west. And now the key is going to be this vibrancy of downtown. And I would say, if you look at the theater, for instance, the Hanover Theater, the success of that, I think we all knew it, but I think a lot of people didn't expect it. Here we have 2 of the worst years in our economy, and we've been one of the most successful facilities, not just in New England, but in the country as far as a performing arts center. And that just shows how much demand there is for the development of downtown and creating these catalysts, if you will, to reconnect the neighborhoods to the downtown. I think we're in a pretty good spot over the next couple of years. So the success
of the Hanover Theater, what's coming up with CitySquare, but as you just mentioned, this recession, this terrible recession, right, of the last couple of years. How is it all happening?
Yeah, I'll tell you but again, recessions we go through these. I mean, as difficult as it is, this isn't the first time the country has gone through it. This has been one of the worst, I know, but the reality is it will come back. And if you look at the last few months, it is stabilized, and we're moving in the right direction. And again, at some point, you got to look at the long term. You got to say, does this location have the ingredients, lots of good educated workforce, good livable place, affordability, and will long time it be on the positive end of the balance. And our view is that Worcester is as good as it gets in New England. It is centrally located, it is an urban setting, we have great stable neighborhoods, and our public education is good. So our view is that this is a city that's worth investing, and it's not a coincidence that we have more construction and more vibrancy than a lot of other cities.
Well, Mr. Manager, because I think Fred is right. It's not a coincidence. I mean, this is a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
You've had the vision, right? But both of you have had the vision to be able to see into the future, and I want to talk about that coming up in just a couple minutes about what you do see playing out 5, 10 years down the road and where all of this goes. But right now,